All right, guys, welcome back to another video. So today we're going to talk about the app secrets. So the common problem. So far we have created a lot of apps, and one of the most common problem that we have seen so far is related to the expiration of the client secret. So if you see one of the sample app that I have on the screen right now, its secret is about to expire. So if you know if the secret of the app expires, your graph API won't be able to work as expected and it will throw an error. Okay, so currently there's no way to get notified on how you can go about getting a notification regarding your expiration of client secret, and there's no way in Azure as well. So today we're going to talk about how you can use Logic app uh, along with the graph API to get yourself notified for the expiration of the client secrets for all the apps in your tenant. So let me give you a quick glance on how it's going to look like. So if I quickly go to my email, this is the sample email address that we'll be getting if one of the app in our tenant is going to expire within the 14 days window. Okay, so this is the email that it's going to look like, and this is the logic app that we're going to use. So we'll be building this logic app from scratch, and currently, the prerequisite for the video is you should be the admin of the tenant to get this working in order to use the Graph API and grant admin consent. The second thing that we need is the valid Azure subscription. All right, let's get started. Let me quickly create a new Logic app. Let me go back to home. Click on Logic app. Oh, not the Logic app connector, but the Logic app. All right, click on add. All right, we're going to create a new resource group, YouTube. Give the logic app a meaningful name. I'm going to keep this region as Central US, and I'm going to select the consumption plan. I'm going to disable the zone redundancy. You can configure this setting as per your needs. I'll quickly click on review and connect. Meanwhile, we will need an Azure app registration to work with the Graph API. I'll quickly go here in Azure Active Directory and create an app registration. Okay, here the Logic app is getting created. Meanwhile, we will create a new app registration. Logic app sample. All right, I'll click on register, and we will need to create a certificate and secret. So see, if you see the maximum duration is 24 months, and even if though you can keep the custom date, but remembering that date is quite challenging. So, so for now, I'm keeping this as 6 months. I'll copy the client secret. Okay, I've copied the client secret, and in the API permission section, I need to give certain permission. So if I go to the documentation for the applications, the API that we're gonna run today. So we'll be running list application, and these are the permission that we will need. Let me go to add permission. So I have copied those permission in my clipboard. I'll go to Microsoft Graph. I'll select application permission. I'll paste it one by one. Application read all. Second permission is application read write owned by. and the third permission is application read write all. There you go. So I have added those permission. So once you have added those permission, you will need to grant the admin consent. Just click on grant admin consent and we are good to go to call this. All right. So meanwhile, our logic app is also created. I'll click on go to resource. All right. We need to create a blank logic app. So the first thing first, we would need a reoccurrence. So I'll go to schedule, select reoccurrence. So this is the reoccurrence window. How often do you want this app to run? So I'm going to keep this as once a day. Okay, frequency once every day at least. I'll click on new step. The next step going to be is to initialize the variables. I'll select variables and click on initialize. So I'm going to name it app ID, select string, select the new variables, initialize. The second one that gonna use is display name. And keep this as string as well. The third one that we're gonna use is password credential. I think we have use increment variable instead of initialize. I'll quickly delete that. Select variables and initialize variable password credentials, password credential, and then keep this as an array. Okay, so far so good. Next step is gonna be the HTTP get request. This is for the graph standpoint. So I've selected HTTP, select the method from get. We're gonna use graph API. So go back to the graph API call and copy the graph API value. So this is the API endpoint that we're gonna use. So since I have tons of application, for the interest of our time, I'm just gonna limit the query to the top two records. So I'm gonna use OData parameters and use the advanced query parameters to limit the record to top two. And apart from that, I'm gonna only select what I needed. So in that case, I'm gonna use select query, select ID, app ID, display name, and the password credential. All right, looks good. And I think we'll need to authenticate in order to run this graph API. So I'll click on authenticate, authentication type. I'm going to select OAuth 2.0. So the tenant, we need to put in the tenant name. So I'll quickly go back to the app registration that we have created. I'll copy the tenant ID from here. Audience, it is going to be graph.microsoft.com. So I'll quickly copy this and paste it. And the client ID, so client ID is going to be here, this one. Okay, so client type, it's going to be secret, the secret that we copied in our notepad. So let's paste this. Okay, so far so good. I'll click on save, and we are not done yet. We are halfway through, but we'll quickly run this to check if everything is working as expected. There you go. All checks completed. So next thing that we're gonna need is the parsation. I'll quickly go back to the designer, or before that I need to copy the value that we got. So I'll quickly run it again. So I have to go to the HTTP section. I'll have to copy the response that I got in the body. and go back to the designer. So select parse JSON, data operation, and parse JSON. Here I'm going to select body. Okay, and inside the schema I'm going to pass the sample JSON that we got from the previous call. All right, we are good to go. So parse JSON. I'll quickly save it and run it again to just quickly check if the format that we passed in is working as expected. All right. Okay, so there's something wrong with the parse JSON and the validation failed. What I'll have to do is I'll quickly run the API query outside this environment using Postman. Or I can just rerun the HTTP call again to get the JSON back. Let's try both ways to check whichever is faster. Yeah, this is client credential question mark. Okay, let's quickly check. Okay, so the JSON parse failed. Quickly copy this. Okay, so there's something wrong with the this thing as well. I'll quickly copy the body again. All right, I'll go back to the designer, pass JSON, and pass the details. I think there's no change in the JSON request. I'll quickly cancel it and try to pass the body again. Use default schema and put on the default schema and try to run it again. Meanwhile, I'll just set up Postman to get the details. And I think I'll need to change the client ID from here. That's all. Okay, so I think in the Postman also we are good to run. Okay, so this is the response that we're gonna get in the logic app. So if I quickly go back to the logic app and pass JSON section and the designer. So the payload schema, I'm gonna pass this. HTTP request, pass JSON. I think there's something wrong with the top keyword in the request. Yeah, there you go. So this was wrongly printed. All right, click on run again. Oh, there's something wrong again. So, okay, it is still taking the top as those detail. I'll quickly go back to designer and change that. Once this page loads, quickly reload it. All right. I'll go to the HTTP request and remove the E from here. And I think now it will work. Okay, I'll quickly run the trigger. This time it should work. Yeah, there you go. So the pass JSON worked as expected. Now we'll need a for each loop. So for each value, I'm going to select value that we're going to get from the pass JSON parameter. So value part is selected, and then we're going to set all the variables that we initialize. So I'll click on variables, set variables. First part is the app ID. I'm going to map this app ID that we initialized earlier with the app ID that we got from JSON. There you go. Second thing is again setting the variable, which is display name. Display name. And the third one is the password credential. So set variable password credential value. We're going to pass the thing that we got from the JSON password credential. Okay, so time for another for each loop. So we're going to select another for each loop. There you go. Password credential that we got from the JSON. I'm going to rename this to for each password credentials credential. All right. And then we're gonna use a certain condition. So I'll select condition. Okay. So over here in the first condition, I'm gonna use so we're gonna select the end date time. It shouldn't be less than um, 14 days. So in the expression part, I'll have to select uh, items for underscore each underscore password password credential. Okay, and then I'm going to put a question mark, and inside password credential array we have an attribute called end date time. Okay, let's select OK, and is less than, this is what we're going to select, is less than. All right, is less than, and the value should be again the expression add to time. Yes, add to time, and it would be UTC now, comma 14, comma day. Okay, it didn't work probably. Add to time UTC now, comma 14, comma day. All right. All right, looks good. So now, since we are done with this part, the last part is what happens when the date which is mentioned in the password credential end date time is less than the specified today's date time within the 14 days window. So in that case, if this condition is true, we need to send an email to ourselves, or it could be any DL group. Or if it is false, we're going to not consider the false scenario, because we're only looking for the scenario where our client secret is about to expire. So here in the true section, I'll select Office 365. I'll have to select send mail, get application, send mail, click on sign in. Quickly sign in. All right. So the email address specify. So I'll have to specify an email address. I'll give my email address for now. Subject. So I'm going to copy all of this from here. App about to expire. App about to expire. I'm going to pass in a dynamic value from here. So it would be uh, from here. App ID. Yeah. And the body part. I'll quickly copy this and paste it over here. I'll have to replace some of the values which are there. Okay, so app registration need to put in the dynamic content here. So I'll put in the display name. Details I need the expiry date. So I'll again from the dynamic content and select expiry date time. And again here it would be the app ID. App ID. Okay. So in my case, I don't have any of the app which is going to expire in the 14-day window. So I'll set the false condition as well. But in your case, I don't think you'll need a false condition. So send mail. This is just for the demonstration purpose, the send mail part and the false condition. Again, I'll quickly, okay, I'll just, if I can copy this quickly from here. Okay, and the body part, hopefully we would get it correct. Okay, no, let's try it again one last time. Okay, there you go. Quickly click on save to make sure everything is working as expected. There you go. I'll quickly run. And now it should send us an email in our inbox. So I've marked everything as read. We would get an email. Oh, okay, something went wrong here. Okay, so as it says, I typed in Y instead of U. Kind of human error. Let's go back and quickly change that the condition. Uh, should be UTC now 14 and it should be day. Quickly update. Click on save. Click on run. This time hopefully it will run and give us the result as expected. Okay, I think we got the mail. So in my case, I had top two apps. So this is the details. So one of my app is sample name demo. Its expiration details and the location of the app. And the second one is this one. It's expiration date. Although I have set in the false condition because I don't have any app which is going to expire in a 14-day window, and that is the reason why my false part is getting executed. But in your case it would be the true part which will get executed if one of the app is going to get expire in less than 14 days window. You can change the days in the for each condition. You can change the way you like this app to work based on the graph API query. So this is the sample query that is being executed inside the logic app. You can change it as you want. You can tweak it, and based on that you can get the corresponding response or the messages over here. All right, so that's all for today. If you guys have any other question or concerns, please do let me know, and I'll be happy to help. All right, thank you. Bye bye. Adios.